Welcome to another Terrific Tips podcast. I am Terry, your host, and you can't spell terrific without Terry. So, of course, we had to do that. I am excited and honored and just absolutely humbly grateful to have my guest here with me today, Rock Thomas. And for those of you that don't know Rock, I want to introduce you to him and tell you a little bit about his epic life and why he's here today. So he is the world's first whole life success expert. He's a best-selling author and the host of the hashtag I Am Movement podcast. He is from farm boy to real estate and business guru. He's a mentor and self-made millionaire. Rock has studied one-on-one with the world's best teachers, Tony Robbins, Jack Canfield, Wayne Dyer. I'm just excited to be in a room with this man and see what he has to share with us today about his experiences in those worlds and his totally awesome Your Epic Life Blueprint book that he's released. He's on a mission to inspire others like you and me to create our best life on our terms. It is possible, and he tells us how to do it. He is a Goalcast video. His Goalcast video alone was viewed by more than 100 million people, which is super exciting. And I will drop the link to that in the description of this video. So if you want to go check it out, you can. And using the tools and strategies that are proven, Rock now teaches people how to create financial freedom by leveraging their purpose and passions to live not just a successful life, but a fulfilled one. And who doesn't want that? I want a fulfilled life. He's the founder of the hashtag I Am Movement, and he's known as the man who redefines life. So please join me in welcoming Rock to the show. Rock, thanks for being here today.
Wow, that was a long introduction.
I wanted to give our audience a little bit about you. I've had the honor and privilege of being in a room with you before, but some of my listeners have not had that distinct pleasure. So I wanted them to really get to know who you are.
Yeah, well, I appreciate it. I think that, the ultimate chasing of the white rabbit, the greyhounds that chase the white rabbit and never catch it is a little bit how some people seem to live their life, right?
Yes.
Achieving, charging, grinding, going, pivoting in this world that's changing so quickly. And so I've just learned over time that, you can happily achieve versus achieve to be happy. And when you get that distinction, you get to enjoy even the tough days and the days that aren't how you want them to be. I think so many people spend a lot of energy trying to control the outside environment, and they end up being frustrated and living in, emotions that are really not the best ones in the world. So it's not just about success, it's also about enjoying the process.
Absolutely. Life is a journey, right? We all end up in the same place at the end of the day. So how are we living the journey? What's that dash stand for each one of us? And it's really up to us to make that dash unique to ourselves and something that we can be proud of, that we can enjoy. And I think success really means different things for different people. So talk to us a little bit about how you are making your dash in your life epic and how you've shared that here in this book.
Well, I'm an entrepreneur. I grew up on a farm, and I'm the type of person that has a good work ethic, which is helpful if you're going to, achieve things. A lot of people struggle with, I'm not a morning person. They end up procrastinating and things like that. So I do have a little bit of that part, I would say, is possibly an advantage, is I just keep on showing up and I have a good resilience factor. But at the end of the day, if you're not a learning-based person, I think you're going to struggle. Most people, I talk a lot about Robert Kiyosaki's cash flow quadrants. On the left side, it's employee and self-employed. And on the right side, it's business and investor. And 95% of the population live on the left side. And so they get single-digit returns in their investments. They're conservative. They live paycheck to paycheck. They want security, but they really live from a place of scarcity. Where people on the other side, which is about 5% of the population, they're more entrepreneurial. They've developed a different skill set. And so if you're willing to develop that skill set of hiring and training and firing and running meetings and reading financials and learning how to scale and things like that, you get to live a life that is so expansive, but you've got to be learning based. You've got to be willing to learn every day. You've got to be able to not let failure define you, but refine you. And it's when you start to understand those pieces that it can be really exciting. The opposite, if you're on the left side, you risk eventually over time getting bitter and pessimistic because it's Groundhog Day over and over and over again. And so that's the thing is I'm the guy who wants to get you from the left side of the quadrant to the right side. I can show you how. I've created 73 whole life millionaires in the last 5 years. So it's not just about wealth. It's about winning the money game, but also winning the health game and the relationship game.
That's fantastic. I read a book last year by Gary Keller, The One Thing, and he talks about the different balls that we can juggle. And he touches on this exercise, and your health is one ball, your work is one ball, your personal relationships is one ball. And then there was a fourth ball, and I can't remember off the top of my head what it was, but there's only one ball that you can drop and it will bounce. Everything else will shatter. So when it comes to figuring out how do we start that process and make that shift in terms of actual applicable actions? Because I know a lot of times we hear these people like Tony Robbins always talking about mindset, right? Mindset's a beautiful thing, but you could have the right mindset and still not be that millionaire that a lot of these other people are. So is there a nugget, an applicable action that we could start to take to make that shift for ourselves?
Yeah, great question, Terry. What I've learned is that everybody has a money personality. And you have a relationship with money, and there are some major pieces. I'll just give you off top of my head is when I work with people, I find out what are they earning, what are they burning, in other words, what their spending habit is, what is their investing habit, if any, and what are their money management habits. And when you combine those four, you end up with a personality. So for example, you could be a doctor making $400,000 a year and spending $450,000, right? It's possible.
Totally.
You've got 2 homes, you got the boat, you've got the Mercedes, you got this, that, the other. You could also be like my mother who makes $20,000 a year and who spends 12 and saves a lot. She buys secondhand clothes, etc. There's some people that have watched people manage their money poorly or not at all. And so your personality is made up of the environment you've been exposed to, mostly your parents probably, and the people around you. If your uncle was like, you should buy cryptocurrency, you should buy cryptocurrency, you should buy cryptocurrency, and he's always talking about that, and you went down that path, that could be good or bad depending on when you got in the game. Yeah. But if you've never talked about that, then you may not have that on your radar. So I give people a money personality upgrade by exposing them to what is their personality, and then we individually break it down. I'll give a quick example. If I was to say to a crowd of 100 people, I have a business opportunity where you can double your money in 6 months. And I can take up to $10 million, write the biggest check to me right now, and I will double your money guaranteed in the next 6 months. Sadly, most people can't write a very big check.
Yeah.
Right? So think about, if you're listening to this, what's the biggest check right now that you could write? You have cash in the bank, you have access to it, you can cash in your stocks right now, and by tomorrow, write me a check. That's part of your money personality. Mm-hmm. A lot of times I sell products, right? Books or courses, and people are like, I just can't afford the $500, Rock. I just can't. I want to, but I can't. Mm-hmm. Well, that's part of your money personality. And ironically, those people could still have 3 children, a dog, 2 cars, but they can't write a check for $500 to make their life better.
Right.
Because they made different choices. Does that make sense?
It does. It does.
So
Those are the same people, by the way, who are like, oh, just have kids. You'll figure it out later.
Right. Exactly. So we're not taught a lot of really fundamental things in school. So I've taken it upon myself to basically be that school or university where I can help people win the money game. And when you win the money game, what do you get? You get time. And when you get time, then you can do the things that really matter and live a fulfilling life. You can go to India for a week and meditate if you want. You can go to Cancun and sip a pina colada. You can do Pilates 3 times a week because you have the time, but you can really live a quality life. And that's why I like to help people win the money game first. And we have a supporting role with their health and their communication skills. So that's kind of my jam.
Awesome. So is this the finding of this process in yourself, going through this for yourself? Is this what led you to writing the Epic Life Blueprint?
You could say that. I mean, it's 10 chapters and it's the top 10 things that I kept on finding myself saying over and over again to people I was coaching. So for instance, chapter 8 is basically, it's about rituals and routines. And I say, tell me what you do before 8 o'clock in the morning and after 8 o'clock at night, and I can predict your financial future for the rest of your life.
Okay.
Reason being is that most people are good at faking it from 9 to 5. Studies show that the actual productivity of the average worker in North America is 3 out of the 8 hours. 80% of people that work in jobs don't like their job, and 60% of those are actively trying to talk other people in the office out of them liking their job. Okay? So that
Sounds
environment,
about right.
yeah. So it's a toxic environment. It's not a productive environment. So if you're not creating a side hustle, reading a book, learning how to do something, managing your money, doing good investments before 8 o'clock in the morning and after 8 o'clock at night, then you're going to really have probably that life where you're just surviving. And yet the people that are getting to the right side of the quadrant, those are people that, they're writing a book, they're starting an Airbnb business on the side, they're learning how to do a podcast, and they're building themselves up so that they can have more and they can leave the job that they may not like, or if they like it, they have additional sources of revenue.
Absolutely. And I think you're right. There is this component of being a forever student. And I was talking with Joseph Varghese in our last podcast about being a forever student. Part of that is asking the right questions. So if I was going to be a forever student and start delving into and creating this epic life, what are some questions that I maybe need to start asking myself to start that exploration of who am I and where am I really trying to go?
Well, I think that the two things that pop up in my mind is rehearsal and review. And the best athletes and actors and performers, they rehearse because they know that through repetition you get better. Yet the average person does not rehearse for much in their life. They kind of just react. So I have a process every Sunday for 90 minutes where I rehearse my week. I prepare for it. I anticipate it. I practice emotionally how I want to show up for a business meeting, reviewing the financials with my team, motivating a sales force on Friday morning. So I'm prepared mentally, emotionally, and with a vision to show up in a certain way. And then I also review how I showed up and see if there's ways for me to improve. And that way, every week I get a little bit better. So if people want to get better, do what the pros do, is rehearse and review, reflect, and get better, a little bit better at what you're doing. And when you do that, well, happiness is very close to progress. And when you have progress, you feel good and you want to do more. So that's one piece. The other piece I would say is that the majority of people that I come across, including myself, is we are our worst critic. Would you agree?
Absolutely. Yes. Our self-doubt is strong in most people. We all have that voice in our head that holds us back.
Yeah, and it's so insidious and subtle. It could be like, oh my God, I should have done this. I should have sold that stock. I should have asked the waitress to bring me the salt and pepper. And now I'm going to eat my food without that, but I don't really want to bother her. And we just beat ourselves up throughout the day. I should have made that decision and got that parking spot. Now I have to go all the way around, get a further one. I'm such a dope, blah, blah, blah. And it goes on, right? And if you think about it, probably 80% of the conversation we have with ourselves in some way, shape, or form is not supportive, encouraging. It's more denigrating. Imagine if you had somebody walking around with you the whole day speaking that into your ear.
Oh, yeah. You
Right?
would feel like you're carrying around a ton of bricks.
So it's really about being aware and being kind to yourself and being your best supporter. I know it sounds so kind of airy-fairy, but it's really true. You're going to get to the end of the day exhausted, right? And the whole Brené Brown not enough conversation. You wake up in the morning, you're like, oh my God, I didn't get enough sleep. Then you go to the coffee machine. Oh, somebody drank all the coffee. There's not enough coffee. You get in the car. Oh no, there's no gas in the car. I don't have gas. And you go, by the time you're to the end of the day, you're like, you just don't feel like you're enough of anything.
Yeah.
And so that conversation has to change. And the reason I wrote the book was to give people these guidelines and these signposts and these reminders to ask really quality questions like, what am I grateful for? What am I excited about? What did I do today that I did better yesterday? What made me laugh? So when you start to ask these questions, sometimes I set an alarm on my phone and I just laugh, for 1 minute, just fake laugh. I know it sounds silly, for 1 minute, 4 times in the day. And it changes, you create oxytocin and serotonin and you feel better and then you're better prepared to do things. So there's hacks and ways that you can, raise up your mindset and be a better you. But you got to be committed and you got to be willing to do it because we live in a negative world, and that negative world, gravity's fierce. It will pull you down.
Absolutely. I love that you mentioned the mind and body hacks. I think this is something that's kind of come about throughout the course of 2020. A lot of people have been talking about mind and body hacks. So you mentioned laughing for a full minute, so do you think of something funny when you laugh, or do you just start like maniacally laughing? Like that.
Like that.
I love it. That's awesome. Okay. So are there other like mind hacks, or are those revealed in the book and we need to go get the book?
Well, you can get the book if you want. It's also on Audible. But I'll tell you, chapter 9 is all about the fact that nothing has meaning in life. There's no meaning in life until you give it. Right?
Yeah, until you give it. That's true. Psychological principle.
So people imagine you're sitting there at a coffee waiting for somebody to show up, they're 15 minutes late, and people are then go into the meanings, right? They don't care about me. I'm not important. Did they have a car accident? I hope they're okay. Gets to half an hour past, you're freaking out. Now you're pissed off. Gets to an hour past, they finally show up and they go, oh my God, it's great to see you. And you go, well, what do you mean? I've been waiting here an hour. They go, no, we were meeting at 5, not at 4. And it could have been benign, right?
Right.
But for an hour, a person probably attached a menu of 50 meanings or potential meanings to it, including a lot of stress and worry. And this is how most people live their lives, is attaching negative meanings. So the tool I use is really simple. What's great about this? So if you're sitting there, what's great about this? You go, well, I could get some work done. I could meditate. I could stretch. I could do some exercise. I could send them a prayer, bless them. It's like, ask yourself, what meaning am I attaching to this? And then ask yourself, what other meaning could I attach to it?
I love that. Change that perspective. It's an automatic shift in mindset that you can have just by asking that simple question. What's good about this situation?
People don't realize that they're attaching meanings to things. They think it's just that way. Oh, this person's late. They're disrespectful. No, that's one possible option on a menu of options. It could be that they're living in the moment and they don't look at their watch as much as you do, and they are from South America and being on time is being half an hour late. That's just the custom, right?
Yeah.
Could be that. It could be that they got in a car accident and it could be that their phone battery died. It's up to you. So I say to people, listen, if you're going to attach a meaning and assign a meaning to things, why not do one that makes you feel good? They're free.
Exactly. I love that. Do one that makes you feel good. Don't do one that stresses you out. I always tell my dad, because my dad is a stressor. He stresses about things before it ever even happens. They live in Florida, so he's always stressing about hurricanes. And I'm like, it's not hurricane season. There isn't a hurricane coming to you right now. So chill. Don't worry about it. Let's cross that bridge when we get there. That's why that saying exists, right?
So Terry, let's talk about that for a second. There's a movie that came out in 2004 called What the Bleep. Did you see it?
I didn't.
Okay. Basically, Joe Dispenza, if you know Dr. Joe Dispenza, was in it. And he talks about the fact that our bodies over time become chemically addicted to emotions. So we'll use your father in this example, is that he may be used to controlling things, making sure things are okay, making decisions in business or at his work, and then being the problem solver, and so he's got used to looking out over the horizon and preparing for things. Let's assume that that's the situation. Make sense?
Sure. That makes sense.
Now he looks out over the horizon. He goes, well, we have hurricanes, eventually, and so I need to prepare for it. And so he starts talking to himself about it. What could I prepare? Well, what if one came up earlier this year? What if there was one out of the blue with, the global warming? It could happen at any time. And then you whip yourself into a frenzy because you're used to looking for problems. And when there are no problems, then you're addicted to having the emotional state of solving problems, that there are no problems to solve. So you create a problem in your mind so you can have the chemical addiction and the neurological fix that is required that you've trained your body to experience.
Yes. Interesting.
And that's how we live our life. So angry people look for occasions to get angry.
Yeah.
Forgiving people, when somebody cuts them off, they're like, hey, no problem. Don't worry about it. Hey, go ahead, right? Because they're looking for places to forgive people. Yeah. So when people are trying to improve their life, they've got to look at their past is going to create their future unless they rehearse and visualize a new future. And most people don't do that.
We don't rehearse. I mean, even this conversation, I didn't have prepared questions. I love to just be engaged and in the moment. And I think there's something beautiful about being engaged in the moment, but I didn't rehearse to prepare for this conversation of what I thought it was going to look like, other than, skimming through what the book might have had and some questions that I could ask about that. I didn't really rehearse because I wanted to just be in the moment. But I could have rehearsed what in the moment looks like to better prepare.
Well, I think it's beautiful that it's spontaneous. There's nothing wrong with being present and being spontaneous. There could be a rehearsal as far as, 2 or 3 key questions you want to ask in a situation like that, or the energy level that you want to bring, or, the level of listening that you're going to be about. So there are things that you can, put in the container and leave room for flexibility. But sadly, when you get to the age of 25, your personality is already set and it creates your personal reality. And people want to change. Einstein said that, the level of mind that you have that got you to where you are will not get you to where you want to go. True. Or we've heard that trying the same thing over and over again, hoping for a different result, is insanity.
Insanity. Yeah.
Because the scientists know that Terry, on the whole, is going to wake up and her body's going to take her to the same place. She's going to get up, she's going to go to the shower, the bathroom, brush her teeth, and she's going to go to the coffee machine. And she's basically going to do the same thing unless something comes along and says, when you get up in the morning and you want to have an epic life, the first thing you should do is not look at your phone for at least 15 minutes and meditate while you're in an alpha state and allow the spirit to come into you so you can be guided. You turn down the noise and you attract the signal so you can be one with the universe, and you can then get the information so that you don't have to work so hard. If somebody came along and was able to move the needle in that conversation with somebody, you might create a new habit, but you'd have to condition it. Does that make sense?
And you do have to condition it. It is a habit that you have to recreate. I know that my husband used to get on me even a year ago about being on my phone before I get out of bed. Well, I don't do that anymore. I'm out of bed and taking my shower. Sometimes I don't even look at my phone until I'm downstairs getting whatever, my vitamins in the morning, my breakfast for the morning. And then I might look at it. And even then, I don't have social media on my phone. The only social media apps I have are Clubhouse and LinkedIn. Those are the only 2 social media apps that I have on my phone. And so the whole looking and judging and grading myself based on what somebody else is doing has been a relief valve. Now you can stop comparing yourself to others and you can start comparing yourself to the life that you want to have. So It was such a great tip for sure. Rock, what's the best way for people to get in touch with you? We're about halfway. And so I want to let you drop that.
Yeah, I mean, on all social medias, Rock Thomas, you'll find me, whether it be Twitter or Instagram or TikTok now, and Clubhouse I'm on, and all of them, of course. I've got a YouTube channel that you can go and listen to some cool stuff. We've rebranded my podcast from the I Am Movement to Rock Your Money, Rock Your Life. So that's a new one. And of course, you can just go to my website, rockthomas.com, and you'll find all kinds of stuff free and all the way up to some private masterminds if you want to, accelerate your learning journey and you resonate with my message.
Fantastic. Thank you, Rock. I appreciate that. For everybody who's listening live, if this is serving you, do me a favor, comment down below. We're going to be following those comments and engaging back with those comments throughout the weekend and over the next week. So we want to make sure that we are serving you and you're getting what you need out of this conversation, because that's what this podcast is for. It's not it's awesome for me that I get to have amazing conversations with amazing people all over the world, but I don't do this just for me. I do this for everybody who joins my stage and everybody who's listening to the conversation. So let me know that this is serving you and what questions maybe you want me to ask, so that way we can dig a little deeper and have a little bit more fun here with Rock today. Thank you for doing that. So yeah, let's jump back into the conversation. Rock, if there was one tip that you could share with us that you got from your conversations with any of the amazing greats that you've had the opportunity to study under, spend quality time with, Tony Robbins, Jack Canfield, Wayne Dyer, Stephen Covey, what's one thing that seems to be kind of a cohesive message that they instilled in you that has helped you kind of move that needle to the next level for yourself?
Well, there's so many different things. I think that, of all the mentors I've had, the one consistent thing is that they are passionately curious. And so I've embodied that. I continue to learn. I continue to hire mentors and coaches and continue to learn that the more I learn, the less I actually know. And it's like peeling an onion. But I really do believe that for most people, there's a great book called Atomic Habits. I don't know if you've read it.
I've got it.
Yeah. So it's about, for people that haven't read it yet, it's really about making these micro changes. So if for instance, you go to your doctor and they say you're not in shape and you want to, get in shape, you should start walking or running because you've got diabetes or whatever it is, or your bank account, whatever your metaphor you want to use, is, start by walking 1 minute tomorrow. Walk to the end of your driveway and back. And the next day, walk 2 minutes. And the next day, 3 minutes. And it's doable. I have a thing where I teach people, it's called the hundreds. So do 100 push-ups in a day and do them how you want. Do 4, do 8, do 20, but get in the 100 total. Do 100 squats, right? So you could do squats while you're pumping gas in your car if you wanted to, right? You could get it done, multitasking. There's no reason if you're committed. And then do 100 reach outs to new clients, because most people are bad at generating leads for their businesses. If you did those 100 things, you would change your life and you would be actually fairly fit. 100 push-ups and 100 squats hits a lot of body parts. And once you do it, you feel better, you tend to do more. You find yourself taking the stairs instead of the elevator. You start finding yourself liking to park the car further away so you can walk a bit, yada, yada, yada. Find yourself having an apple instead of a muffin. And so you make these incremental changes and they stack upon each other. And then all of a sudden, before you know it, you end up in a new destination. I have 43 different streams of income. And you could say that every 6 months I add a new business to my world. And I pour into it for a while until I find somebody that can operate it. And then I go and find another one. So, you won't be an overnight success. But if you just take that next step, do kind of a little bit, and you're willing to play the long-term game, it adds up. I had a movie that came out called Impact about a month ago, and I forgot about it because I filmed it. It's a documentary 3.5 years ago.
It came out a month ago. Wow.
It came out a month ago, right? And then my YouTube channel, which is slowly getting traction on it, I've been recording and posting on it for years. And we're getting very close to the point where it's going to start paying us royalties. But what a lot of people aren't willing to do is the little things day in and day out. So I'll leave you on this piece with this quote: "Judge not your day by your harvest, but by the seeds you plant." People want results today. They want to make money today. They want to lose weight today. But if you just walk 1 minute today and then 1 minute tomorrow, the results will show up in 3 to 6 months. So my harvest keeps on coming up every month because of things I've done 3, 6, 9, 12 months ago, 2 years ago, 3 years ago. People are like, how do you do all those things? How could you got a movie coming out? When do you do that? You open another business? You got that? What? Because I'm doing a little bit before 8 o'clock in the morning and a little bit after 8 o'clock at night, planting a few seeds, and then they harvest down the road.
Absolutely. I was going to ask you if you wouldn't mind sharing one of the tips for how you determine what companies you want to invest in. And are you investing only financially or investing time? Like making that determination, because 43 streams of income is like mind blowing to a lot of people. So what is your determining factor?
So I love real estate. I own a couple of real estate offices. So that's definitely a place that I go. I have over 200 salespeople. But what I look for, Terry, is a good operator. And then I put that operator in place so that I don't have to do the operations, right? Because if I'm an operator, I'm on the left side of the quadrant. I want to be on the right all the time. So I find the right business and I find the operator. I've got a solar business that I just started about 3 months ago, and I found a great operator, and I'm down here in Arizona. Solar is going to be huge this decade. So find the right industry or niche, and then find a good team or a good operator, or if you're going to be the person that starts it, find definitely the right industry and something you like. And then I'm really good at building sales teams. So I went out and I started knocking doors with these guys. Now I'm 58. I don't need to be knocking doors, but I'm willing to do what needs to be done to get it done, right? Whatever it takes. I have that attitude. And when you have that attitude, you have zero reluctance in doing things. Most people are like, a solar business? Oh, what do I have to do? Well, you should knock doors, you should make phone calls, you should buy ads on Facebook. I don't know if I want to knock on doors. Okay, you're out. It's like Elon Musk was asked, how do you encourage an entrepreneur? He goes, if an entrepreneur needs encouragement, don't be an entrepreneur, right?
It is that simple.
Like, you need to be able to motivate yourself. You need to be able to go in there and get zero results for a long period of time and still have a smile on your face and be excited. One of my mastermind groups that I started, I worked for 6 months for free with a bunch of guys till they hired me as the CEO and started paying me handsomely for it. On one of my real estate companies, on and off for 5 years, I haven't really made much because of COVID, because of this, because of the change in industry, because of local laws and competition, etc. But still have a smile on my face. I don't play the victim, right? So I'd say, it's really important that skills pay the bills. And most people are not getting skilled. Yeah. They're trying to look for the easy path, Terry. And I'm like, where is the toughest path? Where does nobody else want to go? They don't want to knock on doors. I'll go freaking knock on doors.
Yeah.
Because there's a reward there, right? Because other people aren't willing to do it. Even when you knock on doors, there's a sign that says no soliciting. I knock on those doors. Because 99% of people see those signs, they go, oh, I don't want to knock on that door. I'm like, I'm going to knock on that door.
Yeah.
Right? Do I get a little afraid? Yes. Do I get butterflies? Yes. Do I think somebody's going to come with a gun or a bunch of dogs and maybe, attack me?
Depends on what non-soliciting door you're knocking on, but yeah.
It crosses my mind, right? Yeah. But I'm alive at least. I'm excited, nervous, but I'm in the game, right? Yes. So there's so many little things that are required to succeed in life, that if you're not learning all the time and not paying attention and not rehearsing and reviewing, then you'll probably quit and give up because it's tough out there. It's really, really tough.
You have to be willing to play the game. Be willing to play the game. So good, Rock. I know that your time is limited. I appreciate you so much for being here. One more time, best way for everybody to follow you, get in touch with you, plug into your Epic Life Blueprint and your masterminds. You could share that again.
Yeah, rockthomas.com is the easiest way to check me out, and you can send me an email if you want, or DM me on Instagram, and we're here to help people learn and grow and have a better experience in life. And I don't have all the answers. I certainly have a lot of things I'm still working on, but I've certainly figured out the money game pretty well. So if people are struggling with the money game, come to me. I'll give you a money personality upgrade, because your personality creates your personal reality. And if it isn't where you want to be financially, you've just been programmed by society to be a consumer, not an investor. And so let's upgrade that.
Fantastic, Rock. Thank you so much for everything that you're doing, for all of the seeds that you're planting, and the wealth of the knowledge that you're sowing into our world, one person, one podcast, one interaction at a time, because it really is making a difference for everybody who has the honor and privilege to come across you and everything that you're putting out there. So I really appreciate that.
I love the way you wove in the seeds into that little wrap up there, Terry. Nicely done.
Everybody who's watching, I'm Terry Watkins, your chief idea catcher at SpinFrogs. If you're looking for an opportunity to be on a podcast, share your knowledge, wisdom, and value, get in touch with me. My contact information is up on the screen, or you can shoot me a private message, and I'd be happy to invite you to be on the stage with me so that we can talk about how amazing you are.